those of you not familiar with me, I'm Jeff Willet. I'm an IFBB professional bodybuilder, and what makes me a little unique is I earned my pro status by being a lifetime drug-free competitor. I'm a 3-time Team Universe champion. I've been on 3 United States bodybuilding teams, and I won my pro card by winning the overall at the 2003 Team Universe. After that, I retired from bodybuilding competition and moved back to my hometown to open Jeff Willet's Powerhouse Gym. And now my focus is helping people to achieve their personal best. Based on your request, I've decided to put together a video that explains all of my must-have exercises that you need to include in every one of your workouts in order to build maximum muscle. So let's stop standing around, it's time to execute. The absolute must-have exercise for legs is the squat. That has to be part of every one of your Maximum T workouts because no exercise is better at maximally overloading the whole lower body. The squats are great because they're the true nature of a compound movement, multi-joint, multi-muscle. You're going to work quadriceps, you're going to work hamstrings, and you're going to work your glutes, as well as your core and parts of your upper body from stabilizing the bar. So that makes it one of the best movements actually for overall development. So let's talk about a few key points to keep in mind when you're doing a squat. I always like to go through a mental checklist before each rep. And that is, I want to keep my head looking up, I want to keep my back straight and my core tight. We do this because we really need to keep a sturdy core throughout the movement, because whenever you have a large amount of weight on your back, whether it be in a squat or a deadlift, you really need to keep the core tight to support your spine. So every rep, I think head up, back straight, core tight, then I proceed with the rep. So now let's take a look at how to actually perform a good set of squats. First thing, you're going to step under the bar. Place the bar across your upper back, right across your trap area. Stand up nice and sturdy. You're going to take a few steps back. You don't want to walk too far back to waste too much energy, because remember, you're going to have a lot of weight on here, so you want to not waste energy. You're going to go through that checklist. You're going to keep your head looking up, back straight, core tight. Then you're going to lower yourself down till your legs are parallel to the ground, and then you're going to drive it back up. Once again, keeping the core tight, the head up, lower down, drive it back up. When you're done with your set, walk it in until you're safely in the rack, and you're done. It's very important to keep great execution with the squat because you have a significant amount of weight on your back, so you need to keep the head up, back straight, the core tight, and it's also important that you don't go too shallow with your depth. You need to take that down low till the upper legs are at least parallel to the ground to ensure that you're really recruiting your whole lower body as effective as possible. And that is how we perform a squat. The number one movement for the hamstrings is going to be the stiff leg deadlift. Now, it's true that the hamstrings do get a good amount of work when we're doing the squat like we talked about. However, they still require some direct overload, and the stiff leg deadlift is the most effective way to put that overload on the hamstrings. So let's take a look at how we execute a stiff leg deadlift. So I prefer to set my bar up at a height that's about waist level, so I'm not wasting a lot of energy picking it up and getting it down. I'd rather have the energy devoted to the actual set so I can focus on the hamstrings. You're going to grab the bar at a comfortable position, probably about shoulder width. Lift yourself up, walk back with a few steps. Again, not too far, don't want to waste too much energy. The points you want to keep in mind is you want to keep your head up, your back straight, and your hips are going to stay back, slight bend in your knees. You're going to control down, and you're going to lower the bar as low as your flexibility allows without rounding your back. So you need to keep that head up, back straight, feel the stretch in the hamstrings, and then back to the top. So some things to keep in mind when doing stiff leg deadlifts are you really want to make sure you're not rounding your back. It's not really that important how far you lower the bar. Sometimes you'll see people put some blocks up so they can really, get a long stretch, and it's never to your advantage to over exaggerate the stretch or the range of motion. You want to go as low as you can with the bar that your flexibility allows without rounding your back. You need to keep that back rigid. That's going to keep the adverse tension off your lower back and put all the tension and load right where we want it, which is on the hamstrings. And that is why stiff leg deadlifts is the #1 hamstring exercise. Form. The absolute #1 exercise for the biceps, without a doubt, is the straight barbell curl. Basic, effective, allows you to fully overload the bicep straight away, should be involved in every one of your maximum T bicep workouts. So let's take a look at how we perform a straight barbell curl. For grip width, you're going to want to take what feels comfortable and natural. You always want a grip width where you feel strongest. It's not to your advantage to go overly wide or overly narrow. We want comfortable and strong, which generally is going to be about shoulder width. Take your bar, stand with a nice sturdy base that allows you to handle the weight with control, and drive the weight up, control it back down. Very simple, very straightforward, straight up, straight down, point A to point B. Walk it in. Now you want to remember when you're doing the straight barbell curl, and in any movement for that matter, we don't want to be too strict or rigid. We want to allow our natural biomechanics to move as we move that heavy weight, because our bodies are meant to kind of work in unison. And these great compound movements like this, we want our whole body to function as it's supposed to. We want to keep the weight under control, so we're not being sloppy, but we're not being too strict or rigid. And again, there's no advantage to taking an ultra narrow grip or ultra wide grip. Comfortable, natural. Always set yourself up to work with your biomechanics so you feel as strong as possible during the movement. So again, for the reasons of maximum overload, basic, compound movement, the straight bar curl should be part of every one of your bicep workouts.
Back up a good bit. Or don't walk into the back of that bit so I don't front you.
Good, Jeff. Good work.
The must-have exercise for all your back workouts is going to be the barbell row, because it's a basic compound lift that allows us to maximally overload all the muscles that we collectively call your back. So let's take a look at how we execute a barbell row. We're going to stick with the common theme as far as our grip width. We want to be comfortable and strong, not too wide, not too narrow. We want to be strong and natural, so it's probably going to be about shoulder width. We're going to lift the weight up, take a couple steps back. Now, to get into position, we're going to keep our head up and our back straight. We're not going to round our back, and then we're going to tuck this right in toward our waist. We're going to control it down. We're going to allow a little natural movement up. The main thing is we're able to contract our shoulder blades and squeeze that back. Walk it back in. Once again, there's not an advantage to over-exaggerating the motion, but with any back exercise, you need to be able to contract your shoulder blades and really squeeze those lats on the way back. We want to keep the tension on the back through the motion, so we're not going to be sloppy with it and let momentum get involved, but you do want to allow a little natural body motion as you're completing the rep. So Must-have movement for the back, barbell row. When we're talking about chest, the absolute must-have movement is the flat barbell bench press. Again, one of the most basic movements that we all hear about, but it's the best. Reason is because we can maximally overload the chest, and that's our goal when we're trying to build maximum muscle. So let's take a look at how we execute flat barbell bench press. There are a few contact points we want to have when we do the bench press. One is feet on the ground, butt on the bench, upper back on the bench. And we're going to allow for a natural arch in our lower back. We're going to grab a grip width that is not too wide, not too narrow. And you have these nice little markers on most bars to help you even up your grip. And I like to do about little finger on the little marker there. Press the bar up, lower it right about to the midpoint of your chest, and then drive it back up while keeping the feet sturdy on the ground, rear end on the bench, upper shoulders on the bench. Control down, drive it up. Simple as that. Now, we want to make sure that we're keeping muscular control throughout the movement. And we want to do that with all of our movements. Nice and controlled on the way down through the negative and drive it back up. But there's no need or advantage to exaggerating the speed of your rep. Muscular control, drive it up. Flat barbell bench press, there is nothing better for achieving maximum overload on your chest, and that is why it is a must-have exercise for chest development. The must-have movement for shoulders is the overhead barbell press, often referred to as the military press. It's number one because it allows us to achieve maximum overload on the shoulders. And as we know, the best way to get muscle to develop is by placing it under overload. So let's take a look at how do we perform the overhead barbell press. For grip width, once again, not too wide, not too narrow. We want natural and strong. We're always going to want to perform this movement to the front and not to the back of our head. So we're going to lift it up. We're going to lower it down just below our chin. And we're going to drive it back up. We're going to control it down. We're going to drive it back up. You want to make sure that you're generating your power starting from the ground up. So feet stay nice and firm. Keep yourself planted. Drive that weight up. Just like all of our movements, we're not going to over-exaggerate the cadence or the speed of the rep. We want to keep muscular control through the negative and strong push-up. So when we're constructing your shoulder workouts, the absolute must-have overhead barbell press. The absolute must-have movement for triceps is lying tricep extensions, sometimes called skull crushers. We choose this move as our must-have because it's a compound movement and it allows us to effectively overload the triceps. So let's take a look at how we want to perform lying tricep extensions. Usually it feels most comfortable to use this with a standard curl bar, and you want to take a grip width that fits your structure and feels natural. For me, that means a little bit wider grip. As you can see, I have my head slightly over the edge of the bench. I'm going to lower the bar actually over my head, not to my forehead, but over top of it, and then I'm going to drive it up using the triceps. I'm going to control it down over my head, and then I'm going to drive it back up. I think you'll find that this movement is more comfortable and feels more biomechanically correct if you allow yourself to lower the weight over the top of your head instead of right to your forehead, as is sometimes taught. It allows for less strain on the elbows and the wrist when doing it that way, and again, it allows you to handle more weight. And we always know that we want more weight because we want to overload the triceps, and that is why lying tricep extensions is a must-have movement for tricep development. If you found this information helpful, please visit my website, jeffwillet.com, for more instructional material and Believe Achieve apparel. You can also get information on my one-on-one consultation service. Also, remember to follow me on Facebook and Twitter for free tips and updates. Now let's go execute.